Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Welcome on in. This is the Johnnie Bobbo Show on LateNightSportsRadio.com on your Spreaker app. You can also find us on iTunes. After we're done with the show, we'll go and post that. Just type in Johnnie Bobbo Show, pop up. Same thing goes for Facebook. You can check us out on Facebook. Be sure to like that Facebook page, The Johnnie Bobbo Show. And I'm Johnny Malors Jr. of 87sportsfans.com. We have Keith Grieve of 87sportsfans.com. And we got Mr. Bob Sullivan joining us from the top of the hour of the NoCoastBias.com. I call it the NoCoastBias.com because it's a pretty prestigious website. Are you writing anything these days, Bob?
No, but
I'm trying. It's not happening.
No, it's not happening right now. I have not written anything since probably like March of last year.
Oh, good. Yeah. So it's
actually
been
March of this year, 2015.
Okay.
But
okay.
My plan is to cover at least one NBA game for them.
Okay.
And at least one conference tournament in college basketball.
Oh, look at that. A conference tournament.
Yeah. I kind of want to visit the Summit League tournament.
Ooh, good for you.
March.
And if you need an NIT source, you got me, man, because I'm sure U of I will be playing there this year.
You know, I do like the NIT. You know, I might be I'm probably the only person that likes the NIT better than the NCAA tournament. But I mean,
why is that? Why do you like that better?
NIT, you get home courts, whether it be like a Robert Morris versus Kentucky.
Robert Morris, ooh, look at you, man!
Robert Morris beat Kentucky as an 8th seed at home versus Kentucky in the NIT. But I like the way the NIT works, where there's some home games where you have real college atmospheres, not, some place in Minneapolis that's, half full because not everybody from that school can travel. So you got real atmosphere of a college basketball game, and then the Final Four is in Madison Square Garden. Is there any better place to play basketball than Madison Square Garden? Actually, I don't know because I didn't play basketball. What?
Yeah, I heard like the actual, obviously it's
the
kind
Mecca
of like Wrigley Field.
John, shut the hell up.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way people feel about Wrigley Field, where it's like, you go there and you just feel the ambiance and you have the history, and it's all a real thing. You know what I mean? And I'm not taking that away. That's my whole point. That's why I'm making the comparison to Madison Square Garden. But no, really though, I hear like the facilities themselves aren't really quite the greatest. At least
Well, they're going to build a new one at some point. Like in the next 10 years, they're going to be building a new Madison Square Garden, so that'll be nice.
That's New York.
Well, this doesn't make sense to me. Those a-holes in New York, they're renovating this current Madison Square Garden, but in like 10 or so years, they're probably going to have to move off of that spot with the current Madison Square Garden. Like, they're going to have to get the hell out of town. So they're going to have to build another Madison Square Garden. I think Keith, would you mind looking this up? I believe they've done 3 or 4 Madison Square Gardens, if I'm not... Yeah, at least 2.
Yeah, I don't know. We're Keith is our guy. He's on that. I mean, but it's one of those places where
there have been 4.
Obviously, it is. Go ahead, Keith.
There have been 4.
They're on their 4th?
But only the first 2 were on Madison Square at Madison Avenue and East 26th Street. The first arena.
They're currently, I can't remember what the current one is, but or it's on Pennsylvania Avenue or something.
The 4th was built in 1960.
But they're going to, I believe they're coming out with a 5th one. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this whole remodeling. I don't even live in New York. I'm not paying the tax dollars, But the fact that they have to renovate it and then they're probably going to have to open a new one is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just kind of hold everybody over. But what were you saying, Keith? Go ahead.
Oh, I closed out the window because Bob wouldn't let me talk, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It is better than me. I talk over.
Don't be that way.
Yeah, don't be that way.
There's like four different Madison Square Gardens, all at different addresses. Was where I was going to go with it.
Oh well, see, but still, don't be sad. You can't be that way.
Is a whore, is what he's saying.
It is. It's fine. It's fine. But you know what's fine. Tomorrow's Freaky Friday, the 13th, and I've always been a guy. I've always preferred the Thirsty Thursday. You know, especially we got a World Series champion. Brett Myers is coming on today. We have Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek. We got Double Feature. That's a band that you actually didn't hate, so that's pretty great. And even a guy Brett Myers, that's he's a former Major League Baseball pitcher, turned professional musician. Brett Myers music actually. Check that out on Facebook. He's got a fan page there for all that business. And I noticed you were a liker of the Brett Myers music page. Were you not, Bob? Prior to
I was. I'm best friends with Brett Myers on Facebook as well.
Are you really?
We're best friends. Brett Myers, great career with the Phillies and Astros. I always liked him as a pitcher. I felt like he was kind of a bulldog, didn't really get, didn't have a tremendously long career, kind of a 500 type pitcher, but
see, I felt
he was kind of like Pat Burrell, where they were, the big name coming up in the system with the Phillies. He got his ring. I don't feel like he was truly appreciated by Phillies fans, like a Ryan Howard, a Chase Utley, the way he should have been, with all the different roles he accepted with the team. And I always respect guys that are able to, know their role, accept the role, excel in their role. And I feel like Brett Myers did that as a starter, reliever, sometimes a closer, whatever it may be. Brett Myers did that, and I respected the hell out of him for that.
Absolutely. I mean, he was a guy got drafted by the Phillies in the first round, 12th pick overall in the 1999 draft. Then ended up making his debut July 24th of 2012, or 2002, excuse me, at the age of 21 years old, going up against the Cubs, 8 innings, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 ERA, got the W, and was a guy that was solid that entire year, exceeded expectations in his first year in the pros, and then like you said, was able to find ways to kind of manipulate what he was able to do, at least in terms of starting games and in terms of coming in as a reliever, and accepted that role. And you've mentioned that before as kind of how you've coached, especially with younger kids. And even now when it comes down to the team that I coach and play for, it's all about understanding what your role is, not getting your ass chapped just because you're not doing what you think you should be doing or what you want to do. It's knowing what your role is. And that's a guy where I think there was a few times where he actually used that to his advantage. He ended up signing as a free agent in 2013 with the Cleveland Indians, but before that, ended up getting traded by the Astros to the White Sox, and before that, in 2009, after having spent a decade with the Phillies, was granted his free agency and ended up signing with the Astros to get to that point. And so we'll kind of we'll take a look into that a little bit later on in the show. But he's doing music now. He just released a new single, and we're going to play that tonight. Beercation.
John, I need to ask you. Okay,
tell me.
With like Brett Myers and these. Look this up, Keith or John.
Yeah.
Because I don't have access to a computer. But was Brett Myers on the team that lost the 10,000th game for the Phillies? Like, they were the first.
Oh God!
Because they were the first organization to reach 10,000 losses. I can't remember if he was on that team or not. I can't remember if that was, when I was really young, or if that was, in my early teens, youth-ish type of thing. But I believe he was on the team that accomplished the 10,000th loss. Well, I guess you don't have to look that up. I'll just ask him.
No, I got it. It was in 2007, and Brett Myers was on that team.
You're faster than I, sir. Yeah, he sure was, because he ended up becoming, like I said, a free agent in 2009. But we're going to talk to him because Major League Baseball you have the GM meetings going on this week, and so you have the owner meetings coming up a little bit further on beyond that. But from what I understand, what's that?
There was a trade, Aaron Hicks for whoever that guy was from the Yankees.
Here, we're gonna get into that, dude, because that's a big thing for me. I love the baseball off season. For me, it is Christmas. I love seeing the players change teams. Obviously, you always love seeing those specific players stick with one team their entire career. That's always kind of something special about that. But when it comes down to the offseason, you got all these guys changing teams and general managers and baseball, presidents of front offices are going out there and trying to find ways to, manipulate their roster and get something good going for themselves. You know what I mean? And trying to change that fate in a hurry. That was something you saw today. Colby Rasmus, they're expecting him to accept the massive qualifying offer there in Houston. And, Houston's been on the way with the ups and ups lately with all the younger kids, and somehow we're able to kind of put it together. The Angels today acquired a guy who just won a defensive glove. I don't know if he won the Gold Glove. They haven't announced that yet, but he did win Defensive Player of the Year from one of the awards they announced earlier in the evening. It's Andrelton Simmons, the shortstop of the Atlanta Braves. Long touted prospect, was able to actually put his bat together with his fantastic glove. And, he kind of suffered an injury last year, but ends up getting traded to the Angels. Meanwhile, while the Braves and John Hart, God bless him, he ended up flipping that ball club around quite a bit. And I'll give him credit for at least cutting some slack with guys like Brandon Beachy and Chris Medlin. They all moved on. These were all longtime Braves, prospects. Came up with the club, and a lot of people were kind of sad to see him go, but he had that thing. He had that machine running relatively well in the beginning of the season for the Braves last year. It was kind of waiting for them to fall off. Same thing with the Mets. Mets never did. The Braves, did. And when it comes down to the Braves, I said they traded Andrelton Simmons today and also re-signed A.J. Pierzynski. I thought that was an interesting move, knowing that there's such a young club, and here they are. They're going to bring back the vet, the feisty guy. You know what I mean?
The a-hole of the club.
Yeah. In Chicago, there was talk. Apparently, his nickname was literally the Devil. Inside the White Sox locker room there, the clubhouse. I thought that was hilarious. I mean, because we all know guys that are jerks. You know what I mean? You find ways to deal with them. You're a human being. You kind of adjust, your mindset and thinking when you're around someone that's like that. But they're going to bring him back in Atlanta. John Hart loves him, so that's happening.
John, you know what? I want to ask you this question. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of on the topic, but I get animated and excited about NBA free agency, NBA off season. You get excited about MLB off season. I to a certain extent, I do too. I mean, but I don't get excited about MLB off season until the season starts, because that's when I actually find out who's been moved at that point. Because there's always, there's under the table moves that happen that aren't really reported on, that you finally find out about. It's like, oh, whoa, B.J. Upton is, has changed his name. That's exciting. But to Melvin, yeah. Who would want to be a Melvin? If you change your name to Melvin, you're a loser. I mean, why would you want to have a loser name? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Anywho, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, because he had been struggling for so long there after being such a stud for so long, and then turned into that loser, and then he's gonna, you know what, man? Here, listen, I'm just gonna own up.
Be a big loser.
My name is Melvin, and I'm proud of it, and I'm good enough. God dang it. I don't know what that move was. Why you're flipping it back to Melvin, this late in your career, and BJ. You know what I mean? I'm sure, obviously, there's.
Yeah, where does that come from? How do you go from Melvin to BJ back to Melvin? I don't understand. I mean, Melvin's not the type of guy to get a BJ, but whatever. Okay, John. Okay, my thing is if I would talk to my grandpa, granted he's dead, but if I were to talk to him, he'd be like, the Celtics, the Yankees, they did it the right way. They drafted well, blah, blah, blah. there was no such thing as free agency, and they won 45 championships in 10 years or whatever.
People don't realize those guys lived in those towns. The teams that they played for, they lived in that town. That was what they did.
My grandpa was an Irish bastard who just loved the Yankees, and
potatoes.
I was growing up to hate the Yankees, but but it's like he talks about the Celtics and the Yankees and how they did all this stuff the right way, and it's like, okay, well, but like he was like, well, once the season was over, you just forgot about the sport and you went on to the next sport, But I don't feel like they would get juiced up for like my grandpa or your grandpa or whoever in our families who's older than us doesn't get juiced up for the off season the way us 30 and under type of people. Sorry, Keith, but us 30 and under type of people get juiced up for the off season because it's actually.
Yeah, he gave it to you, but I mean, that's a real thing because. With their not having, free agency and all that, you aren't as excited because, like you said, there's a way of doing things, which is, drafting, developing, and however they did it, beforehand. But now that really comes into play and with a lot of these teams where I guess maybe it was more important back then where that's all that you had and you didn't have something like free agency. However, nowadays, when you talk about the Yankees and the Cubs and the Celtics and the Cardinals, I shouldn't mention the Cubs there. I meant to say the Cardinals.
Don't you dare say the Cardinals. Don't you dare say the Cardinals.
But when people talk about doing things the right way, that's kind of why I mentioned the Cubs is because, they're front in mind, at least in terms of the teams that are here in Chicago playing baseball, is that they're on the right path. You know what I mean? They have a plan. They're executing their plan to the best of their abilities. It's something that the Houston Astros have done, the Kansas City Royals have done. And the reason why it's so interesting nowadays is because there's so many different ways to do it and so many different ways depending on your market and what resources you have available to you. You're able to do different things. And there's different ways of getting to a championship and doing it the right way. There's not just one defined way of doing it anymore. Now
it's called ageism. Ageism.
See, look at you. You're into things. I'm a philosophy major, and you're on top of this.
No, okay, well, what do you think, okay, as far as these old coots go, like say we went back and, say me and you went back in time to the 1930s or whatever. Granted, the only sport is baseball.
Fit right in. I would fit right in. Baseball's hot. The suits with the hats and that is my thing. The wingtips.
But I find it okay. This is going to be you're a philosophy major or physiology or whatever.
No philosophy, free law major.
Dig this, Johnny. Okay, so as a society now, we're all like, oh, free agency, this is exciting, blah blah blah. We want go to the next team, make as much money as possible. Go to as many. If you want to go to another team, so be it. That's cool. And then back in the day, it was like you stayed with your team. Not that you really had a choice whether you could leave your team or not, but you stayed with your team. You built, a relationship with that team, and you won championships or you didn't. Right. And I feel like, you hear about guys like John Wooden, who, rumor has it, only kissed one woman. But, you hear about, whether it be your grandpa or your dad or whatever, they only, their one woman was your mom or your grandma or whatever. But you look at nowadays, it's like, slay as much as you can. Slay as much as you can, get as much as you can while the getting's good, and then eventually settle down. That's kind of the way it is in sports. You get as much as you can, and then eventually settle down for a championship, like marriage. But back in the day, it was like you just, whether you loved your wife or you didn't, you just wrote it out just for the kids. You just wrote it out in the city of St. Louis for the Hawks or whatever when you're 27. Think about that. As people, time has moved on, sports are kind of like the people. Us people, we don't want to stick around with one chick for 15 years or 20 years or 40 years or whatever. We want to bang as much as possible and then settle down with some nice girl.
Man, you speak for yourself there, Bob. I found myself.
John, am I not right on this? Teeth?
I get what you're saying. And yeah, maybe, yeah. I don't know. We'll talk a little bit about that, when we talk to Brett Myers coming up, because we're
not going to talk about that with Brett Myers.
We are, because because he plays music, and one of his songs is called Yoga Pants, and another one we got coming up. I mean, it's Chase and Tail. I mean, and they're funny songs, man. It's a lot of it. Like, it reminds me of at least going through college, and it's actually good music, man. So, I mean, that's why I'm really excited to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about him going through free agency again, talking about knowing your role, what you're willing to do in your role, and actually having some leverage in a situation like that. And we're going to get into that with Brett, because he's been through that situation before. But even also that, we're going to play his new song, Beercation, which we all need. And we're also going to talk to the Fantasy Greek. He's going to drop in and talk fantasy sports with us, Week 10, covering sits, starts, daily fantasy leagues. If you're not in New York, you can still play. So you got to be listening to the show. We got the bye week coming up with injury replacements as well. Also, your hashtag AskTFG questions. We're going to get to those as well. And then later on, as if the show couldn't get any damn better, we're bringing on Francois VanCura, Coty of Coty's Q is coming on, bringing back Double Feature. They got a new album coming on, new EP. We're going to listen to their hit off of it, You Can Run, But You Can't Die. So what you're going to do, you're going to listen to us here on your Spreaker app, on LateNightSportsRadio.com, or by downloading the Johnny Bobbo Show on iTunes. Be sure to like the Johnny Bobbo Show on Facebook, because our Facebook page rocks. And, of course, later on, we're going to get to a late night sports radio scoreboard check with our one and only Keith Grieve. So you can join us talking about sports as they happen. So give us a call, 585-633-7487, or give us a tweet at LN Sports Radio on Twitter. And, again, you're listening to the Johnny Bobbo Show on LateNightSportsRadio.com.
history doesn't seem to give any clue. Just when I think I understand it all, you seem to unravel some more. Ooh, I never know nobody like you. Ooh, now I know you're an enigma. Yeah, you keep me guessing on confessing now, well, baby, it's true. I never know nobody like you. Baby, you're an enigma. Baby, you're a riddle. I'm caught up in the middle of you. I'm trying to think bigger, but I can't seem to figure it through. I wanna make it better, but now I'm scared of looking a fool. Oh, baby, no, I've never been very good at playing it cool. Just when I think I understand it all, I find I know nothing at all. I never know nobody like you. Now I know you're an enigma. Yeah, you keep me guessing, I'm confessing now, well, baby, it's true. I never know nobody like you. Baby, you're an enigma. Baby, you're an enigma. Yeah, you keep me guessing, I'm confessing now, baby, it's true. I never know nobody like you. Baby, you're an enigma. Baby, you're an enigma. Baby, you're an enigma. Yeah, you keep me guessing, I'm confessing now, baby, it's true. I never know nobody like you.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Johnnie Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio, also on your Spreaker app. Download us on iTunes. And, you know, I can't wait to get into it. We're bringing our guy right off the bat here, Brett Myers, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, Houston Astros, Chicago White Sox, Cleveland Indians, World Series champion, but doing some cooler things, music. How's that all flying for you there, Brett?
Oh, yeah, it's all going good, but I appreciate you having me on. It's going good, man. It's just something that I just wanted to do for a while, and wanted to write my own songs and stuff like that, and actually got up with a good buddy of mine that is in the business and started, you know, writing some stuff down that he thought was good ideas. And, you know, I don't think he would have worked with me if he thought they weren't good ideas and stuff like that, but I'm having fun doing it.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what? It's Damien Starkey, right? He had something to do with Puddle of Mud and also Burn Season 2, right?
Right, yep, absolutely. He was the bass player in Puddle of Mud, and he started out when he was 18. We kind of have, our paths kind of crossed. It was funny. We actually went to high school together, and didn't really know it. And evidently, when I was on the varsity team, he was on the junior varsity team. I actually hit him in a practice game. He claims it was on purpose, but I don't remember it being that way. I just I don't know. He might have looked at me wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, did he have that look though? Because I know how that is. So, when I'm going up in whether it's baseball or any other sport, I'm always looking at the other team, and you kind of pick out the big dog. But I mean, it's got to be tough. I can't imagine what it would be like for you now if Jose Bautista, does the bat flip and everybody else. It seems like there's just a lot more showboating going on in baseball than there used to be, isn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't particularly care for Jose Bautista's bat flip, and I guarantee you 90% of players didn't appreciate it, or pitchers, put it that way. 90% of pitchers didn't appreciate it. It just nobody likes to be shown up in the game, and I felt like today he was showing up the pitcher, and I come from the old school game of baseball, to where I was taught, don't show anybody else up, no emotion, just try to, don't give the team another reason, a reason to want to kick your tail, just go out there and do your job, kind of walk softly, carry a big stick type thing, and kind of make them want to go, man, who the heck just pitched against us? Kind of make them forget about you,
Right. No,
you don't want to be the center of attention all the time, because those are the guys that come to the field. I know for a fact when I pitched against Roger Clemens and stuff like that, I came to the field wanting to go after Roger Clemens. I wanted to beat Roger Clemens. That was it was a big deal for me. So, when you're facing guys like that try to show all this emotion and throwing bats and everything like that, it is a little disrespectful, but, the media ate it up. Everybody, the fans ate it up and thought it was great, but I basically, in my opinion, that was disrespectful to me, and I would have took offense to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Brett, I was wondering, I'm kind of a loser myself. I was wondering what was it like being a part of the 10,000th loss in Philadelphia Phillies history.
Oh, I was? Oh, I don't know. I don't remember that. I just remember winning in 08, but that 10,000 loss didn't matter after you win a World Series,
Yeah, about it.
That's true.
It's you know what? I mean, that just shows that organization's been around a long time, and you have to be able to be around a long time and run an organization out of a city to get that many losses. So, it was.
Did you guys
know
that was on the line at that time?
It's something that you don't think about, man. You play 162 games a year. Yes, it was written about. None of it would be written about if people didn't keep stats. They wouldn't give a crap. They just most fans. You ask fans, "Oh, Phillies lost 10,000 games," but then you look at only people they remember in is 2008.
Right.
You looking at with the way it is today, me and John can tweet about anything and anybody will see it. And I mean, Twitter was slowly getting started towards the end of your career. Looking at like print media, nobody reads the newspaper anymore, so nobody has to worry about that. But blogs, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. How do you think you would have dealt with, Twitter and Facebook, during your career?
I don't know, really. Honestly, I just kind of started getting into that stuff. I was in it for a little while, but I'm the type of guy that will just say what's on my mind, and I don't really think that people would understand what I'm actually saying or what I'm talking about, and they might take it the wrong way, and that's just because they don't know me.
Right.
So, yeah, I would have probably gotten in a lot of trouble, and I still kind of get in trouble on it anyway, on Twitter and stuff, with people just, not knowing where I'm coming from with certain things. And, it's tough to, some things, if you say things, sometimes it's okay not to say anything. And, but, there's certain things that I have a passion about that I feel that I need to say and stuff like that. And obviously people take it the wrong way. They don't actually understand where I'm coming from. Like, I made a comment on Twitter about the bat flip with Jose Bautista, people got all over me and told me I was a loser or whatever like that, and I didn't know what I was talking about. But that's just me knowing the game and knowing how people react to it. And I actually got to talk to Cole Hamels after the game, and that whole team was not happy about that. So,
Sure.
I mean, that's just baseball guys knowing it, and fans have a different perspective over things than actual guys that play the game. So.
Oh yeah, and we've kind of gotten into that a couple times on the show, Bob and myself, at least talking about how it is difficult. At least a lot of times relating to the fans and at least translating. They barely know enough in a lot of cases about their own team. They're rooting for with every morsel of their being. However, they really don't know much about the rest of the league either, or a lot of the intricacies of the sport. But that's talking about social media, but you're doing something fantastic with social media. So obviously, you're playing your music, you're doing your thing. Finally, hopefully, I can't imagine you were the annoying like Jake Peavy kind of guy, where just walking around with the guitar all the time. But
well, I got to play with Jake in Chicago, and he wasn't like that. I was actually the guy that brought the guitar in, so he would
really.
Play. Yeah. So
that's good.
No, I kept to myself with the music stuff. In the hotel room or whatever, at the house, wherever we were staying or whatnot. But I didn't really take that much interest in it at the time. I just did it just to start playing the guitar a little bit and picking around and everything.
Right.
And basically, I'd keep it to myself and everything, but I'd let people know that I could play a little bit, and we'd hang out and have a couple beers together and just make funny songs up or something like that.
Yeah.
But I never made it a huge known thing that's what I enjoyed doing, but it kept me out of trouble. I put it that way because I'd rather go play my guitar and sit in my room than go be out on the road or at bars or whatever like that. So, it kind of kept me grounded a little bit. Plus, we got a lot of downtime, and it was just something to keep my time occupied instead of going crazy sitting there all day watching TV or something.
Yeah, and so we're talking about the social media thing. You have a new album. You just put one out that came out in May, but you're already working on some other stuff. Again, we're talking to Brett Myers. Check him out, Brett Myers Music on Facebook. He has his own Facebook page there. Also, Backwood Rebel 39 on the Twitter. Check him out there. World Series champion, but you're writing songs like the first single that you just released here is called Beercation, and I'm pretty sure. I think Keith has it just about queued up for us, but tell me a little bit about Beercation, how this song came to be, and what's kind of maybe one of your favorite parts about the whole song process.
Kind of a funny story. All my songs, they're all my ideas. They all pop in my head, and most of my songs are about drinking beer, just because I'm a redneck dude, and all my buddies are rednecks, and we sit around, we drink beer, and we come up with crazy ideas, kind of like our own jackass show, basically, and we do funny stuff around here and shoot stuff. And, it's typical redneck stuff, And so me and my family took a trip. We were going up to Virginia. My daughter had a horse show going up there, and we drove my RV and everything. We drove up there and pulled horses and all that stuff. And then we get up there for a couple of days, and then my wife's from Pennsylvania, so we decided to drive up and see her family and do all that thing and everything. But I found myself every day at noon cracking a beer because I had nothing else to do. So I was kind of it was a family vacation, but my wife was slowly catching on, and every day at noon she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm on vacation." And then probably after the third day, I said, "No, I'm on a beercation." And then it kind of popped in my head, and I was like, this would be great, if I could just find a way to tell a story about this.
Yeah.
And go ahead and put this song out. And basically, the song was that's where the idea came about, but we had to create a story to go with it. And, I just noticed, I know that I have a lot of friends and, that work 9-to-5 jobs, and I used to work at a car wash when I was younger, and I remember how much I just couldn't wait for the weekend just to get out of there, and go do something that I wanted to do instead of having to be somewhere. So we had to, I came up with the story about how we, wanted to go on a beercation, and every weekend was our beercation type thing. So I think it's honestly, in my opinion, of the 14 songs that I've put out, I think this is probably my best song in my opinion. Like, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I always end up liking a lot of them, but once I hear a song so much, because after editing and you know, doing everything, I've heard the song over 1,000 times, and you just get tired of hearing it. But this is one of them that I don't get tired of hearing.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, let's give it a listen. You got it ready for us, Keith?
All good. Here we go.
All right, let's play. This is Beercation by our guy Brett Myers.
I walked into work 5 minutes late. Boss man said if I do it again, he's gonna have to dock my pay. I can't go on living this way. Thank God it's Friday, all I gotta do is just make it through the day. Counting down the hours, grinding through the week. When the clock strikes 5, I'll tell you where I'll be. On a beercation, I might never go back. Gonna ice down the Yeti, get the fishing gear ready with a 12-ounce in my hand. Going on a beercation, getting back on track. Clearing my head while working on my hydration. On a beercation. It's Sunday night, and it's getting late. I caught a 10-pound bass and a 2-ton buzz. Damn, that's a lot of weight. I wanna go on living this way. Gonna call in sick and I don't care what the boss man has to say. Don't have to watch the clock when I'm out here on the lake. And I'm not heading in until I'm out of beer or out of bait. That's right. On a beercation, never go back. Gonna ice down the Yeti, get the fishing gear ready with a 12-ounce in my hand. Going on a beercation, getting back on track. Clearing my head while working on my hydration. On a beercation. Caught a 10-pound bass and a 2-ton buzz. Damn, that's a lot of weight. On a beercation, I might never go back. Gonna ice down the Yeti, get the fishing gear ready with a 12-ounce in my hand. Going on a beercation, getting back on track. Clearing my head while working on my hydration. On a beercation. On a beercation, I ain't never going back. Not this time, just throwing them back. Oh yeah.
Fantastic. They had the Beercation by Brett Myers and Key. Well, Bob, actually, you're a guy that. You're not all too kind, I would say, to some of Cody's music guests later on. But how'd you feel about Brett's song there?
I thought it sounded like a good country song, and I would say Brett, it sounded like you had some training back in the day. Did you just did you have guitar training, singing lessons at all during the
No.
your early days or anything, or did you just, after baseball, decide you wanted to go into music?
Well, when I was with Cleveland and I got hurt, I've been playing guitar since I got to the big leagues. When I was with the Phillies, the video coordinator, Kevin Camasholi, actually started working with me playing guitar. But singing lessons, I didn't have any of that stuff. And I just, I was scared to death, man. I'm not going to lie to you. My buddy, the producer, Damon Starkey, he played in Puddle of Mud, and I had all the ideas and everything, but I planned on, because he was the lead singer in Burn Season, I'm like, dude, you got to sing this. You're a singer, and he told me no, that I needed to do it, and I refused for the first couple of weeks because I didn't know what I was getting into, and I could pitch in front of 50,000 people and be fine, not break a sweat, sweat because I'm working, but not be nervous or anything like that after the first couple innings and whatnot. But I step in front of that mic, I go in that booth in that room, and I come out looking like I just pitched 8 innings. I'm sweating my tail off and it's work, but you're standing there singing, but I'm just nervous. And every time that he'd tell me, all right, do it again. And I'm thinking to myself going, man, I really suck in here. I'm really sucking it up. And he was just getting multiple takes, and I didn't really catch on to what was going on. And then, after the first, few songs and everything, I kind of started feeling a rhythm a little bit of what was going on. And everybody sings in the shower and in the car and stuff and thinks they can sing or whatnot. But he actually said that I could sing, and I'm like, I thought he was just lying to me. And I still, there's some songs that I've done on the album and songs before that I can't stand. I can't stand my voice on it. It drives me nuts. And there's some songs, that's why I said play Beercation, because I actually thought I sounded pretty good on that one. But there's some other ones I could tell you, and the thing is, some people really love that song, and I'm like, my voice is awful on that. I didn't feel it. It didn't come out right, and that happens at times. But the whole goal with this thing is that I'm not really trying to be the next Jason Aldean or Luke Bryan or whoever the hell these big guys are these days. I'm just basically doing this for my own interest. And if one of these guys like one of my songs, they hear it. Next thing you know, these guys are singing one of my songs out there, and I think that'd be cool. But my main goal when I first started this was just to get an album out on iTunes, just to say I did it. That was it. Just to say that I did it and have fun with it. And that's all I wanted to keep doing. I don't want to take this seriously like it's a job. I want to have fun with it, write fun songs, write songs that people can relate to, and be like the guy that's just explaining stuff to how I think people feel and how I feel, and hopefully people will like them.
Well, Brett, I completely respect the hell out of you for that, because I started my own podcast, the Bob Sullivan Show, because it was kind of a way to help me get through my social anxiety.
Right.
And I
have that too, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I hate people.
Yeah, same here. Yeah,
I just don't like being around big groups, man, and that's the only reason why I haven't done a live show yet, because I don't know. I feel that way,
I'm exactly the same way as you, where I hate hearing my voice. I've never listened to one of my shows. The only time I listen to my show is when I have to edit it and send it to somebody else. That's the only time I ever listen to one of my shows. Yep. And I hate listening to my voice. I think I'm terrible at it. People tell me I'm okay or good at it, and I just don't listen to them. I just do it to get over my kind of social anxiety.
Right, yeah.
And I completely respect the hell out of you for, not doing it for the money, not doing it for the fame or anything. Just doing it to
not about that.
your own personal interest.
Granted, now, it does cost me money to do this. I'd love to make my money back, but I know going into this, being a former baseball player, people aren't going to take this seriously,
No.
They're not going to take it seriously. They're going to think it's some joke, and then they listen to it, and they hate me because of my baseball career. They're not giving my music a chance because they don't like me as a baseball player. And this was the whole problem when I was talking to Damon about this, was saying I don't want to put my name on the album. Like, I don't want to say it was me. You know, I just want to do it and you make up some phony name and just put it out there and just say that's mine. And he goes, nobody will buy it. And I said, why? He goes, because they'll think it's a better story that you're a former baseball player singing, and people will actually give it a chance, that liked you when you played, and even people that hated you when you played will give it a chance just so they can say how bad it is.
Stick a kid on you, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it actually, he was right. He's been in the music industry since he's 18 years old. I've been playing baseball since I was 18, you know, or in the professional. So I put my whole faith into him and just say, okay, man, whatever you want to do, you know. And that's basically how the whole thing kind of got going. And at first I was like, I just want to write one song and see how cool it is, you know, and do that. And he's like on top of me going, dude, you got to keep going with this. You got to keep going. Like, he's pushing me to keep going. And I'm like, well, I like challenges. Okay, I'll give it a shot, you know. I'll see what kind of cool stuff we can put out there. And, you know, one of my top selling songs, I guess, is called Kegerator. And that's pretty much it's pretty much because it was a song me and my buddy, like, he helps me, we write together, you know. You always have to have somebody to collaborate with, tell a story with. And Kegerator is basically about our wives yelling at us because we had too many beers, and they can count the cans that we've had. So we bought a Kegerator, and they can't count no more because we got one cup. I mean, it's a funny concept because if you're married, and if everybody out there that's married will understand that.
Yeah.
Beer, you know, everybody would understand that. The wives would get on you about that, but it's a good, fun-hearted song, you know. My wife was like, "That song's about me, isn't it?" I said, "Not really, not really. I mean, maybe a little bit, but all the guys, you know, love that song." And we kind of went the first album about all like dude songs and stuff like that, and now this second album, we're kind of coming out with some chick songs, you know, just singing about girls and stuff like that, but.
Brett, as far as, you know, writing goes, you know, when I do a show, whether it be with an athlete or a writer, I don't write down any questions or anything. I just go and, you know, pretty much just roll with the flow.
Right.
Do you go into the studio, like, do you go into the studio, or even when you were playing, do you prepare yourself, like, either walking off the field or while you're in the dugout, preparing yourself for what questions you're going to have to answer? Or do you just, you know, sometimes even when I'm doing my show, I hope that people don't show up to do my show. Like, whether it be a writer or an athlete, I just hope they don't show up so I don't have to talk. Like dealing with social anxiety. Do you deal with that too?
No, I mean, I know I've kind of been trained how to deal with media, you know, since I was drafted. You know, that there was guys in the Phillies organization that would, because, you know, Philadelphia media is tough on you and stuff like that. They taught us how to handle it early, and but that doesn't mean like my answers weren't just like quick and that's all I wanted to go with. You know, I wanted to be me. I didn't want to be somebody fake. You know, I wanted to be me. And I think that was the main problem I had, because they would ask me these questions and you have to do cliches. I really wanted to tell them to go, you know where, you know, but just leave me alone. Let me just leave me alone and let me do my job and don't bother me is what I really wanted. But when it goes with the writing the music stuff, it's like I can if it's just a group of people that I know and that I'm comfortable with, I mean, I don't have a problem saying whatever, you know. Get a few beers in me, I open up to anybody, you know. It just helps me relax a little. But when it comes to writing the music stuff, that comes to me, you know, with just, you know, the idea comes up to me, and then I go into the studio and me and my buddy sit there and I throw stories out and say, would this be cool, stuff like that, and then we just kind of put it into a good melody, and boom, song. I mean, it honestly takes us 3 hours to write a song, and
you know,
honestly, it would take us less if we would stop goofing off. But
Brett, it's funny because I have about, a fifth of Captain Morgan in me right now. I do the way you do music, the way I do these podcasts.
Well, you'll feel good about this because I have to at least drink 4 beers before I get in front of that mic and start singing, and I don't care what time it is.
Yeah. I completely understand. Yeah. It's, John and Keith are victim to this at most of the time. Usually just drinking too much. But you know what it's like. You just have to do that to kind of get by, to get in front of the microphone, to kind of do what you got to do to get over the anxiety.
My wife thinks that I'm just, rude to everybody unless I have a few beers in me. And then she gets mad at me because I have a few beers.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah.
You want me to be nice? If you want me to be nice, then give me a couple beers. If you want me to be rude, then I'll just walk by people. Like, I won't even say hey to them. Like, even though if I know them, I keep my head down, shades on. I just don't want to be bothered. I'd rather sit by myself and do nothing.
Yeah.
Just sit in a dark room alone and not do anything.
No, I'm with you on that. I like my alone time to at least just get some work done. That's like a big thing for me. But a couple things.
You know what the coolest thing is about doing this music thing is I kind of get to express myself behind closed doors, and nobody gets to see what I'm doing, but they can hear what I'm doing. Like, I'm comfortable enough. Like, the first time I went in to sing in front of the mic, I was like, nope, this ain't good, because my buddy's sitting there, and he's judging me the whole time, whether it was good or not. And every time he says, do it again, I'm like, I suck. Why am I in here? I got to go. And he's just trying to get more takes just in case, you got to warm your voice up just like pitching when you throw, man. You got to warm your arm up. You got to warm your voice up. And I get in there, and I keep going, and I've done it like 20 times. He's like, all right, that was a good one. Next, move on. I was like, oh, my God, man, this takes longer than I thought. I thought I nailed it earlier, but I didn't. But I was nervous, and I still am nervous in front of him, and he's one of my good buddies. But at the same time, I'm trying to work through that stuff. So, but this is a good way to express myself and sing songs and stuff and try to show my sense of humor to people. Without actually coming out and getting in front of people and telling them how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of, again, Brett Myers, check out Brett Myers' music on Facebook. When it comes down to, you were a free agent when I went into November of 2009. Kind of talking about some of these more, I guess, in-depth things. Kind of dealing with at least being a pitcher and kind of dealing with some of the stage fright or whatever else you want to call it. A guy like Zach Greinke, this is a guy. He's actually become a more cerebral pitcher as he's kind of developed here, and I think he might be in line to top his last contract. First of all, how do you think he's able to do that, and where do you eventually, what's going through his brain? I should say, at least at this point, where he knows, you're a top dog going out there. Same thing with David Price. I mean, where's he going to sign, and how do you think his thought process is going?
I can tell you I was never a Zach Greinke or a David Price. Don't get me wrong, but.
Still.
These guys are, I think that they're, honestly, to be a pitcher, everybody calls pitchers dumb and non-athletes, okay? And sometimes
so silly.
That works great to your advantage, to stop overthinking everything and just go out there and let your stuff work. My best year I ever had was in 2010, and I finished 10th in the Cy Young with the Astros and everything, which I never even thought that would even be a question. Like, why would they bring my name up in the Cy Young? But it was we weren't on a winning team, and I still finished 10th. I was like crazy, right? The best thing I did, I went out there. I had nothing to lose. I came off a hip surgery in 2009. I went out there, and the Astros took a chance on me. I had nothing to lose. All I went out there to do was have fun, and I didn't care what happened. If I got my butt kicked, if this was my last year pitching, it didn't matter. And I went out there and pitched the best I ever pitched in my life. The next year I tried the same thing. Well, stuff changed. I wasn't having fun. I was tired of losing. I was overthinking things. I was trying to do too much. And I think why these guys are so good is they go out there and they just go, whatever happens, happens. I'm going to win. Am I lose? If you look at David Price, he's 0-6 or 0-7 in the playoffs. Hasn't won a game. And he's still smiling on the mountain. You think it bothers him? He's still considered one of the guys that people are still trading for him during the trade deadline, knowing that he's 0-6 or 0-7 in the playoffs because he's a competitor. And he has a chance to win any ball game. You know? So I think that actually plays into it, that these guys go out there, they're still having fun with the game. When the game stops, when you stop having fun, it's time to go home.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me. The older I got, the teams that I played on and stuff, I took it became a job.
Right.
It wasn't fun anymore. And that's why I'm totally fine with, my elbow's recovered and whatever after a year, after hurting it with Cleveland, I was fine. I was thinking about going back, but you know what? I put my family first, and I had more fun with them than I would being away from them. It was being miserable for me, staying away from them for so long. So I decided to, hey, that's it. Now I'll start singing music for some reason. Some crazy wild hair run up my butt or something, and decided I'm a musician now or something.
Well, it turned out great because our guy Brett Myers, he's coming out here. He's actually putting out a song on social media, releasing a new ditty. Every once in a while, you're doing it once a month?
Yes, every month we're putting out a new song. So maybe 2 next month. I don't know yet. Might do a Christmas song. Haven't decided yet. So
see, that's a special feature. It's on the bonus disc, right?
Yeah, it might be. Who knows?
You got it. And now, where can we buy this, and where can we find this?
You can go to any digital outlet, any digital store. iTunes, Google Play. All the singles are on Spotify. The actual full record is all on iTunes and Google Play, Amazon. Just wherever you can buy it digitally. I don't even know all the digital outlets. You can listen to it on YouTube too. I mean, if you want before you buy it. So
see, and that's fantastic. We can check it out. And again, Backwood Rebel 39 on Twitter, Brett Myers Music on Facebook. Check it out. Philadelphia, Philly, Houston Astros, Chicago White Sox, Cleveland Indians. We didn't even get a chance to get into the White Sox stuff and a lot of the other questions I had because that was a fantastic segment. We really appreciate you coming on, Brett.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Excellent. There he is. Check him out, Brett Myers. Buy that album because you need it. You know what I mean? That was actually good music. I love the hell out of it. And that's just because, not only because I'm a baseball guy, maybe he has a baseball song out there I haven't found out yet, but we're going to work on that. And when we come back here, we're going to talk to our guy, Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek. All your questions, hashtag him, AskTFG on Twitter. Give us a call, too, 585-633-7487. And we'll be right back here with Jim Saranteas on the Johnny Bobbo Show on LateNightSportsRadio.com.
Maybe I could offer up an answer. tried and true. Sing along, la 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 la, you're lying till you say, sing along and do, doing the things that keep me tried and true. Sing along, la 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 la, you're lying to yourself, as any other girl would do. Sing along and do, doing the things that keep me tried and true. Sing along, la 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 la, you're lying to yourself, as any other girl would do. Lying to yourself, as any other girl would do.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Welcome back to the Johnny Bobbo Show, and we're going to get right to it. Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek of thefantasygreek.com, and we want to wait long enough to play two songs here. We want to get right into it because, Jim, you solve so many people's problems. You are the fantasy doctor. You make people happy. How are you doing tonight?
Doing well, guys. How y'all doing?
Oh, absolutely great. We were just talking to Brett Myers, talking a little music, talking a little baseball. And now we get into football because football's happening. We got sits or starts. Getting right into it. James Jones, wide receiver, Packers versus the Lions. James Jones got off to a hot start, ended up cooling considerably. 3 receptions for 59 yards over 2 games. However, Jones, he appears to have a pretty good matchup this week against the Lions. They've allowed the most points in the NFL this season, have given up 32 passing plays of 22-plus yards. Do owners sit or start Mr. James Jones of the Packers?
For me, I guess you're sitting on it. James Jones is just not a very good option these days. He started off really hot and put up some TDs, and as you've just pointed out, he really hasn't done much. Devontae Adams looked like he just came back in the last game and came back like gangbusters, and I really love this matchup for Aaron Rodgers. Could James Jones make some noise? I suppose so. But I really like Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, and James Starks in this one. If you're gonna play James Jones, by all means, go right ahead. He's really a wide receiver 3. He has no business in wide receiver in leagues where there are 2 wide receivers. I suppose if you have 2 wide receivers in the flex, you could consider him. But
your call. Yeah, well, I know you have Devontae Adams. He's on your pickup. Is that a guy you're going to pick up? Devontae Adams over James Jones if you have that option.
Yes, absolutely. Go with Devontae Adams. I mean, it's been abundantly clear that Devontae Adams is sort of what this Packers offense has been missing in the passing game.
And kind of on that same note, you're looking at Dez Bryant with the Cowboys at the Buccaneers. It seems like, he didn't look so hot in his first week back, and then back to his old self, week 9, 104 yards, 5 receptions, a touchdown, and that was in a tougher matchup. Now going up against, Tampa Bay. Do you think Bryant is capable of putting up a big game without Tony Romo and, going up against the Bucs? They have a lot of 19 passing touchdowns. Plus, like I was saying on that same note, one of the guys you had on waivers there is Cole Beasley. You know what I mean? So are you picking up Cole Beasley, and would you play Dez Bryant in separate situations?
Well, we definitely played Dez Bryant. I think we saw enough out of that last game to show that, Matt Castle is pretty much just, I don't know, how do you miss Dez Bryant? I mean, he's going to throw the football to him. They're going to connect, and he's going to make some noise. As far as Cole Beasley is concerned, I'm not a big fan of his picking up off the waiver wire. I'm not just going to drop any of my guys at this point in the season. What we saw from Matt Castle last week, is it something to get excited about? I suppose. Is it something to, in fantasy football to just, lather yourself up and run out there and go get him? I'd say no. But if you went ahead and got him and you have him on your team for some reason, I don't think he's a bad play. They have a favorable matchup here. They're going to throw a lot of balls to the under routes, which is exactly what Cole Beasley is a specialist at. He's really good at getting the yards after the catch. So if you've got that option, by all means, go right ahead. Is he going to blow up the fantasy football world? He could. I'm just not running out there telling people to do that, because I think if you've made it to this particular week and you've got 5 or more wins, this guy is not the guy that got you here. There's no reason to rely on him if you don't need to.
Yeah, and now how about a guy like Jonathan Stewart? He's of the Panthers going up at the Titans, and is going against the Titans. And they had a similar runner in Mark Ingram last week to 52 yards on 21 carries. But even though Stewart, receives, consistent touches, never really breaks that big run. He's only averaging 3.3 yards per carry. Our owners going to sit Stewart this week, going up against the Titans, who shut a guy down very similar to him in Week 9. Are they going to sit Stewart in Week 10?
I don't think you sit Stewart, and the reason being is, the obvious. He's just been running the football really well in that Panthers offense. The Titans' defense has been struggling the last few weeks.
Okay.
And I'm not a person to sit here and tell you to go ahead and sit Stewart, because it ain't going to happen. If you follow fantasy football in any way, shape, or form, you can see that, generally speaking, your RB2s are people that in non-PPR leagues are putting up 10 or more fantasy points. In PPR leagues are putting 15 or more fantasy points up on the board. Stewart is definitely in line to be the latter. And I wouldn't sit him this week, because I don't see too many other players doing better than what he could possibly do. He's always got upside. Here I was the guy touting cutting him at the beginning of the season, and suddenly the Panthers wake up and just said, hey, we'll feed the guy, the football 15, 20 times, and lo and behold, he actually puts together a few pretty good running games.
Yeah, and now a guy that's been kind of on the waiver wire, several weeks in a row here. We're talking about all the injuries and everything else that's happening. A guy like Saranteas West of the Chiefs going up at the Broncos. He had some pretty solid stats the past 2 weeks, racking up basically 207 yards with 2 touchdowns. And, it's basically leading to a more secure role, at least as the RB1 in Kansas City. Now, the Broncos, they've only allowed an average of 3.5 yards per carry. Are owners going to sit Saranteas West in Week 10?
Well, it depends. It depends who your other guys are. If he was your straight-up replacement for Jamal Charles, you're probably not going to sit him. But if you're like some of us who were able to get him as their third running back, you're going to compare him to the next option on your team and see who's got the better matchup. Saranteas West is startable because he's a volume running back. He's going to get a certain amount of touches, and that's going to lead to something. I would also add that the Broncos in the last 3 games have given up anywhere from 90 to 120 yards to the running back. Certainly they're in line to allow a TD. I think they've only given up 5 on the season, something like that. So it's not earth-shattering, but he's certainly a candidate for it. And again, getting back to RB1s and RB2s, if this is a guy that can put up 10 to 15 fantasy points, depending on what your structure is, he's a guy that you can certainly put out there on the field.
Yeah,
if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And now kind of looking at maybe, some of these, the daily fantasy league things where it's happening week to week. If you're in New York, I guess you're out of luck. But if you're not in New York, we got a guy like Ryan Matthews of the Eagles going up against the Dolphins. He's had at least 1 touchdown each of his last 4 games. And Matthews seems lined up for a big week against the Dolphins in their 31st ranked run defense. Where do you think Matthews ranks among your wide receivers, in a week like this with several key fantasy contributors because of injury or because of bye weeks? And do you think he's capable of having a big enough week to provide some value on a daily fantasy roster?
Okay, and we're talking about running back Ryan Matthews.
Correct.
For me, for a daily fantasy team, I would probably avoid him. You want to pick the best players in the best position to put up as many yards and as many scores as possible. Ryan Matthews is certainly a candidate to put up the yardage in the TD, but given the salary cap situation, all those things, I think you could probably put a combination at running back of, let's say, D'Angelo Williams and looking at some of my sheets here, Doug Martin, DeMarco Murray. James Starks, Justin Forsett. There are other people that I think are sort of in line if you're going to go for daily fantasy sports. Now, if you play multiple rosters, I think you can put him on one as your second running back.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to go out there and play one roster, he's not the guy that I would waste my one roster on.
And see, now I would kind of hope that he would be able to at least provide something like that, knowing that a guy like, again, D'Angelo Williams of the Steelers going up against the Browns. The Browns are crap. You know what I mean? Same thing with Miami. I mean, anybody that's going up against Miami or against Cleveland, basically, if you're starting that defense, that's pretty much the way to go with Johnny Manziel at the helm. I'm not sure how that's all going to work out for them. I'm not necessarily being positive about it, but when you look at how incredible D'Angelo Williams looked in Week 9, heading up against the worst run defense in the league, is Williams obviously is worth taking that shot in the fantasy league in a daily tournament, but I feel like there might be maybe too many people putting money in on D'Angelo Williams, where he might be the type of running back where it might cancel itself out. Where if you pick a guy like Ryan Matthews, you might be in the clear and kind of buck the curb there.
I mean, if that's your strategy, sure, you could take that approach.
Yeah.
But if your strategy is to try and get the guys in the best matchups, maximizing your values, I mean, here, you could sit there and try and pick 5 players that could potentially put up a crazy good game. Pick 5. Let's say one's Tavon Austin. Pick Michael Crabtree. Pick 3 other guys, whoever they might be. So you're going to take 5 rosters and then take those 5 guys and spread them out amongst 5 rosters, and that's going to give you a better chance to win than sticking with the guys that are in the best matchups against teams that are giving up the most yards and the most TDs. That's where I sort of question it. I mean, if you want to go for the $6 million, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Go for the high-risk play, but I'm telling you, you're probably going to lose. If you want to go and make the top 10, the top 20, get yourself into the money situation, then I think you've got to stay focused and only go for those outliers when you find yourself in trouble when it comes to your salary cap. So if you've loaded up on all these positions and your last position to fill is running back, and Ryan Matthews is the guy that fits it, he's certainly a good candidate because, as you've pointed out, I mean, he's a guy who can get a 50 to 100 yards and even a potential score, and that might be something that's worthwhile.
Yeah, and I mean, do you feel like maybe that people try to get too cute when it comes down to some of these fantasy leagues, trying to get the big win there, or do you think probably the best strategy is to go with those consistent guys, and if it gets offset by other people, you know what I mean, that it selected the same big player that had a big game, that you might have someone else somewhere else on the roster that might be able to kind of.
Well, it depends. Are you talking about weekly fantasy or daily fantasy?
It's daily. Daily.
Well, in a daily fantasy world, you can take more chances for the very reasons that you just pointed out. If you're going for $6 million and in the pool there's 20,000 people playing, I mean, if 10,000 people pick the top players, well, you're going to split $6 million 10,000 ways, I suppose. Right. It's not a good way, obviously, to make money, but the combination of players and the combination of sort of things that can happen, to me, again, stay focused on the players that are going to do well. I'm not telling you to play Aaron Rodgers to play Aaron Rodgers. I'm not telling you to play Tom Brady to play Tom Brady, but I am telling you Tom Brady's got a really great matchup this weekend. So does Julian Edelman. So does Rob Gronkowski. I'm telling you, Aaron Rodgers does. Randall Cobb does. James Starks does. So you can sort of stack some of your players or some of your lineups in that way and fill in other respects in order to get a boost of value. Like, for example, Tavon Austin, he's a guy you can play in daily fantasy, but he's hit or miss. I mean, you've got a 50-50 shot. But this particular week, today, Aaron Rodgers is in a great place. A couple weeks ago against the Broncos, he wasn't. He was not a good play in daily fantasy because of the matchup. Just was not good. And I bet you a lot of people played him because he's Aaron Rodgers. But if you were a sensible person, playing the yardage, playing the TDs, you sat there and said, you know what, I'm not going to play him. And that was the right move. This week, it's the right move to play him.
And now, how about a guy like Blake Bortles? You know what I mean? All the Jaguars going up against the Ravens at home. He's proven to be more than just a matchup quarterback at this point. And, there's a chance that I feel like he can come up big in a week like this, at least in some of the daily formats, where he's going up against the Ravens. Their pass defense has allowed 284 yards per game on average, and have allowed 16 passing touchdowns in 8 games this season. Is Bortles one of those guys where you can maybe shift some of that money elsewhere in your roster and go with a guy like Bortles?
I think Bortles stacked with Allen Robinson and or Allen Hurns or all three of them is one particularly good set team, because he's got a really favorable matchup against a team that gives up the 3rd most yards, passing yards in the league, 5th most passing TDs in the league. So they're sort of a grouping that you can go with, again, if you're playing multiple rosters. And if you're going to play one, I don't think he's a bad one, because it's just not that he's not a popular guy. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's Tom Brady. You would think not as many people would play him. So I don't think he's a bad play at all. And I love him in weekly fantasy. He's a top 5 play in weekly fantasy.
See, and now we're going to get to our hashtag AskTFG. You can send it to us on Twitter, on Facebook. This is a message from James Bailey of Western Springs, Illinois. He's at Tavon Austin or Allen Hurst. We have Tavon Austin is going up with St. Louis against the Bears at home. Allen Hurst of the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Baltimore Ravens. Who are you selecting in that position? Because I've heard you mention both of their names to this point.
Yeah, I'm going with Allen Hurns. I mean, again, for the reasons that I pointed out, is that ultimately it is just a great matchup. You could go with Tavon Austin as one of your different sort of permeations of a core roster. You have to have a core roster, to me. You can't just walk into daily fantasy sports and play a willy-nilly roster, because at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is, a willy-nilly roster. You have to have a group of guys that you sort of say, I think these guys they're going to, have the best weeks or be in the top 5. So at least my downside is reduced. Don't stick with, don't just look at a grouping and say, oh, these guys will be in the top 5, because before you know it, you're talking about the top 50, the top 500. It's not good. But you want to, how's that expression? You aim small, you miss small.
Right.
Aim big, you miss big. That's what I'm talking about here. Try to keep your targets small. Look at the guys that you can see. I really see this guy finishing first. I really see this guy, oh my God, I need to fill one spot. And that one spot, I can only spend X amount. And out of those people, which one of these people can I reasonably see hitting that target? Now, you can get to a point where you're just looking to fill one position. You've only got $3,000 to spend, and either you have no options because the $3,000, there's just no players there, or these are so off-the-radar players, they're not even going to play. So why wouldn't you then say, okay, well, I need to take one player out, put a different player in, and sort of move my roster around until I have 2 players that you can reasonably say could have a really good game, such that it is one of the best for the week.
Yeah, and now kind of moving to the waiver wire, and this is moving outside of the daily fantasy stuff. Obviously a lot of guys on bye week, a lot of injuries with guys like Andrew Luck, who happens to be on a bye week and an injury. You got a guy like Jay Cutler of the Bears at the Rams. Quite a few people filling up their quarterback slots. A guy like Jay Cutler, he's been experiencing a revival since his return from injury, since week 3. And, it seems like maybe he might be a solid week 10 replacement, or do you think that maybe the Rams, blanket secondary that they have going on there right now is going to continue the trend of not allowing a passing touchdown for the 4th straight game? Or do you see a guy like Kirk Cousins of the Redskins going up against the Saints at home, where, Cousins has been a consistent producer at this point, at least 1 touchdown in each game that he's played this year. He's facing the Saints. They've allowed 292 passing yards per game, along with 24 passing touchdowns. Are you better off grabbing Cousins or Jay Cutler if he's available?
You are better off playing Kirk Cousins than you are Jay Cutler. Look, the Rams have given up 5 passing TDs on the season. Do the math. Whether it's an 8-game season or whether it's a 9-game season, they're hardly giving up half a TD. So none of the numbers are in Jay Cutler's favor, no matter what the fantasy football format. However, Kirk Cousins, who you could sit here and say, he's only had 1 multi-TD game the whole season. The reality was it was against a team that he should have had a multi-TD game against, and he did. And he's going up against a Saints team that just every quarterback that comes up against them has a fantastic fantasy week. So, Kirk Cousins is a good play, whether it be in daily fantasy or whether it be in a weekly fantasy.
Right.
And weekly, I wouldn't bench Aaron Rodgers to play him. I wouldn't bench Tom Brady to play him. But if, let's say your other quarterback's Tyrod Taylor, who's going right now, who's only got one TD, hopefully you didn't play Tyrod Taylor tonight. I mean, you might have been forced to, but, hopefully you didn't.
Color rush, baby.
Kirk Cousins would have been a nice alternative to that play. Could he blow up in your face? Sure, absolutely. But none of the numbers are pointing to it. Everything points to him having a multi-TD game and being a top 12 finisher this week.
Yeah, and now one last thing. We're talking Jim Saranteas of thefantasygreek.com, at the Fantasy Greek on Twitter. Wide receiver Brandon LaFell of the Patriots going up against the Giants. And since returning from the PUP list, LaFell posted 174 yards on 11 receptions. And, is LaFell, do you feel he's a safe start this week against the Giants, going up, it's their 31st ranked pass defense in the league right now?
Well, the thing about LaFell that's intriguing is, and he's only been back for 3 games, and only one of those games has he actually had double-digit fantasy points in PPR leagues. He hasn't done anything to sort of be off the hook, even though, what was the last week, I think he had 102 yards. I like him as a wide receiver 3. He is an option. Depending who your other wide receiver 3s are, I think you can certainly consider him. You can certainly consider him against Deshaun Jackson. I think that would be a tough call because I really like this Redskins matchup against the Saints. If you wanted to be safe, you go with Brandon LaFell. But then if you're going to consider, Brandon LaFell against name a wide receiver.
Des Bryant.
Oh, definitely. Play Des Bryant. But against Golden Tate, I would play Brandon LaFell. Against Doug Baldwin, I would play Brandon LaFell. There's just an array of players that you can put him in over this particular week.
How about Dorial Green-Beckham this week?
Dorial Green-Beckham is an interesting play. I don't think this is a good week for him. The Titans are playing the Panthers, who have just an outstanding secondary. They are tough against number 1s, number 2s. I'm not sure, how a team like the Panthers views him. Do they view him as a number 1? I would think they would view Greg Olsen as the number 1. Okay. He's just not I don't think he's a solid play this week. If in weekly fantasy, if you're forced to play somebody, you got to play him. In daily fantasy, I would stay away from him. Next week, I think, is a much better matchup for the Titans, and Dorial Green-Beckham can potentially be a really, really good play.
Really? All right. Well, everyone pay attention to that. Why do you think that is? It's a really good matchup for him, or what?
Let's see, who are they playing? There's a reason. I'm just talking out loud here. There's a reason why I said that. Let's see.
I'm panning through my stuff here.
Oh no, I'm pulling up the schedule right now. Next week. They are playing the Jaguars. The Jaguars have one of the worst pass defenses in the league. I mean, if Steve Smith wasn't done for the season, he would be one of the top plays this week against a Jaguars pass defense that is giving up, let's see here. They're middle of the road in terms of fantasy stats.
Mm-hmm.
But it ends up being, it's a good number. 263 yards per game and almost 2 TDs per game. I like that for Marcus Mariota. I think Marcus Mariota can top the 2 TDs per game that the Jaguars are giving up. Dorial Green-Beckham, believe it or not, was the most targeted Titan last week when Delaney Walker blew it up on just 8 targets. So, I mean, that speaks volumes of the kind of receiver that Marcus Mariota views him to be. And given that the team has already indicated that they're going to give Dorial Beckham more playing time, I think the sky's the limit on the guy. And if you have room, I would pick him up and put him on my bench and just watch and see what happens. I really think this back half of the season, he is a player that's going to climb the ladder, so to speak.
And look at that. You heard it right here on the Johnny Bobbo Show. First, with our guy, Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek. You can check him out. He's also doing stuff with LateNightSportsRadio.com on Wednesday nights. You want to get on all that action right before the game starts Thursday. Listen to them there. Get in on the Skybox, and you can check that out at thefantasygreek.com. Thank you so much, Jim. We really appreciate you coming on, man. You solved a lot of people's problems tonight.
I hope so. Thanks, and appreciate it. You guys have a good evening.
Yeah, there he is, Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek. Check him out, thefantasygreek.com, at the Fantasy Greek on Twitter. And when we come back here, we're going to talk to our guy, Coty VanCura. Double feature, man. We're playing double feature music, and actually we're going to be playing the band a double feature when we come back here on the Johnny Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio and on your Spreaker app.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
On Late Night Sports Radio. We don't waste time around here because we're bringing our guy Coty VanCura of Coty's Q. Find him on Facebook, Francois VanCura. How you doing tonight, Coty? You doing all right?
Hey, man, just having board games at my house. I had a bunch of dudes over. Some of them lost, some of them are still here. Just duding out with my dudes.
Duding out with your dudes. Bob, are you familiar with duding out with your dudes?
I dude out from occasion to occasion, but I'm not duding out with my dudes at the moment. I'm living this secluded life now.
And
Bob,
Cody,
my dream in life is to dude out with you real hard.
Cody, I would like to dude out with you when I come to Chicago in the next couple months. But Cody,
Right.
you want to know? You have officially moved into my second favorite segment. The segment number 2 is my favorite segment. Segment number 4, which is your segment, is my second favorite segment. And then my segment with John in the first is my favorite segment. And then the other segment that we have available is my fourth favorite segment.
Oh man, I am so blessed to be part of any part of your favorite anything.
But now, let me ask you this, Cody. If you had a Counting Crow song that reminded you the most of Bob, what would it be?
That's so hard, man. It would be more like albums, but I guess like one song. Well, I can't do that. I can tell you the songs out of every song ever written that most reminds me of Bob.
Cody, my song that reminds me of you would be that song by 3 Days Grace.
How I hate everything about you.
I hate everything about you. Why do I love you? And I do love you, Cody. But I don't understand. I hate everything about you, but I do love you, Cody. That's my favorite song. That's the song that reminds
Bob,
me.
you mean so much to me, and the song that reminds me most of you would be Take My Breath Away. Because every time I talk to you, I'm just so smitten and in love.
Is there a song called High and Dry? Because if that was about me and Cody.
Yes. Radiohead, off their first album, Pablo Honey.
Okay, well, High and Dry, that's me and Cody's mutual song.
Oh, wow.
But my song about Cody is I hate everything about you, but I do love you, Cody.
Yeah.
Bob, Bob, when you're in Chicago, you're coming over, and you're dousing yourself in Four Loko with me. We're getting wild.
Well, we'll get wild. Can I not douse myself, though? That sounds like kind of a, little bit of a homo activity.
No, it's not limp. It's fine.
Okay.
Anyways.
Hey, let's listen to some Double Feature.
Yeah, I love Double Feature.
So why are we talking about Double Feature? Yeah, no, they rock, man. So tell me a little bit about it. Obviously, we're bringing it back on for a reason. So I know they got an album release that's coming up soon, right? Is that what this has to do with?
On Saturday, Double Feature is their album release. If you go there, Kyle Back, who's in the band.
I love the art, by the way.
He will buy you beer if you come there and say you heard about the show on the Johnny Bobbo show.
You heard it right here. If you want free beer, check out this album release party. It is happening. Well, where's this party happening at? Tell me.
But wait. What is our return on this?
It doesn't matter.
Bob, you get the privilege of having this band on your show.
No, do we get okay? If they get free beer, can we get a taste of a Coors Light or something?
You get nothing, dude. You lose.
Yeah.
You get nothing.
I'm just getting effed in the A, is what you're saying, Cody.
You're getting effed in the A, but if you want free beer, go to Burlington Bar and meet up with Kyle Back, and we'll give you a bunch of free beer.
That is awesome. But you got to tell me you like the Johnny Bobbo show, because that's where you heard him. And that's where you're going to hear this song right here.
Black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose.
You lose. But what you can
Good
do,
day, sir.
You can run, but you can't die. And that's what we're going to hear right here from our band. Double Feature. The second time. This is Double Trouble here on the Johnny Bobbo show. Want free beer. Kyle Back. Check him out. Talk to him. What do we got, Keith?
Show starts in 1 minute.
We're happy to have you with us this evening and want you to enjoy every minute of your stay here. And while you relax and stretch, visit our concession where you'll find something to please you. There are ice-cold drinks, delicious sandwiches, ice cream, coffee and snacks, and many other pleasing treats.
Try to disappear entirely.
Fantastic stuff. That is our guys. Double feature. You can run, but you can't die. And I just tweeted out, Facebooked out, actually, a photo of 2 ray gun water squirters, Shilling Retro. And these are our guys. They have all sorts of stuff they have ready to give away for you right now this Saturday at Burlington Bar, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. You check it out. Double feature. So, Coty.
Hey, I also want to mention AskTFG is playing that show. AskTFG is a band I saw for the first time several years ago when it was the going away, breaking up, never playing again show of my favorite band growing up in high school, Shortcut from Tokyo. AskTFG opened up for them. And I haven't seen them since, so it's going to be really cool to see them again. So, like, I'll link their Facebook to my page. They're cool guys.
Yeah,
so, like, if you go to the show, check them out, too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I love the art, the artwork on the t-shirts here. You know, obviously the cool thick brim glasses. You know that's the whole thing. But the whole aliens, I love that. I love the aliens look. Where did that come from, Coty? Do you know?
You know, man, it just came from, you know, like B movies and
Being awesome.
You know, drinking Four Locos. You know how it goes.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And so Kyle Back, you know, that's a guy. He does backup vocals, plays guitar for him. Dominic Dell, that's a guy, lead vocals, guitar. I love their sound. They sound a lot like Blink-182, but early Blink, where they were quick. You know what I mean? I enjoy that fast-paced punk music. I'm not sure if that's, you know, necessarily Bob's thing, but I love the hell out of that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
See, that's
it doesn't bother me. I mean, and Cody's
too on music tonight. That's good.
Yeah, I like music tonight.
See, look at that. You're doing things for him, Coty. You are opening Bob's mind, as you are other
Coty,
listeners.
you're doing stuff to me that no other guy has ever done to me.
Oh, wow. Immediately,
I'm privileged. I feel so privileged.
Would you feel privileged to see a band like Guns N' Roses finally get it back together? Supposedly there's talk about them actually solidifying a reunion tour.
Here's
What's
the
that,
thing,
Bob?
Johnny. Here's the thing. Guns N' Roses, you know, Axl and Slash back together. That's cool, great, whatever. I'll go see them. I'd be more inclined if it was Axl Rose back together with Buckethead.
Why? Why would you say
Do
something?
you remember their performance on MTV Music Video Awards?
When he was a fat turd just rolling around on stage? Yeah, I remember that.
Axl was a fat turd, absolutely, still is. There's no denying that. But I'm saying,
dreadlocks I've ever seen.
Buckethead, the possibilities of Buckethead being in Guns N' Roses is limitless. Like, we didn't even get Chinese Democracy with Buckethead on guitar. You know, I'm going to be honest, Buckethead is probably my top 10 favorite guitar players. I think he is miles and miles ahead of Slash. And Slash will never contribute as much to technical guitar playing as Buckethead has. So I'm not excited for Axl and Slash. You know, if I could choke up $300, I'll go see him. But I'd be more excited to see Axl reunited with his long-lost brother, Buckethead.
Wow, he's pissed a bunch of people off. Bob, what were you trying to say, bro?
Okay, well, Coty, I got two things. Okay, would you rather see a Guns N' Roses reunion, or would you rather see the Who, half of the Who, and half of the Beatles get together for a tour?
Or whatever's left of the Led Zeppelin.
Yo, I'd be down with half of the Who, half of the Beatles, because that's all.
And actually, the Who had what's his name, Ringo Starr's son, playing drums for them instead of Keith Moon when I was like 17 when I saw them in concert. So, I mean, it could work. It could work.
Well, you know, God hopes that Ringo's son's a better drummer than he is.
Yeah. Okay. And my second thing is, did you ever see the movie That Thing You Do?
Tom Hanks, bitches.
Okay. Tell me why they shouldn't, and you'll be wrong, but why shouldn't they come out with a That Thing You Do 2, where they do a reunion tour with Jimmy coming back to the band, I mean, why wouldn't you do a reunion tour? That thing you do too.
I'd be fully stoked for that reunion tour.
I mean, that's how I
understanding
feel.
why anyone would
Like,
turn it
I
down.
actually kind of like Eddie and the Cruisers too. Wasn't great, but I kind of liked the music in it.
Oh, absolutely. It's like Grease 2 is terrible, but the music was a lot better than Grease 1.
Yeah, Grease 2 was an aborted fetus on the side of the road.
Grease 2 is a cinematic masterpiece. Bob, you need to start learning your movies.
Yes.
And who was it? Was that Bryan Adams and Eddie and the Cruisers?
No. Bryan Adams? No,
Yeah,
it was John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, you C-word.
Excuse me, sir. Because I'm looking, I Googled it, and like I've heard about it before because I felt like somebody's at one point compared my hair.
On the dark side. Oh, yeah.
What?
That's the dark side. The dark side is their main song, and then they have like something with Peggy Sue or something. Not Peggy Sue, but like some kind of Sue related.
Peggy Sue.
Yes. Some broad named Sue that did some stuff, and people wrote a song about her.
Some broad.
Drop.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Coty. What do you got going on, man? Do we have any shows that we need to see here in Chicago? Anything that we're going to be missing coming up soon here? Because I mean, you are the emo prince of the Midwest. You are entertainment warlock. Tell us something.
All right, in a couple weeks, I'm not too sure of the date, but it's a show I'm really excited for. If I'm digging into I'm going to dig into my pockets filled with emo right now and pull out a Forgotten Gem. Craig Owens from Chiodos is playing Chicago very soon.
Oh my gosh! Is that a show you have to be at? You have to be at that show.
I mean, if you're still wearing white belts in 2015, that is an absolute go-to.
Yeah, if you're totally into crying and you haven't done so in a while because you can't feel anything anymore, go ahead.
There was also a band I used to be really into, Avlov. They broke up. The singer, guitar player, has a new band, Stove, and they're playing in Subterranean in a week or two. So that's another really cool show to check out.
You got it. Well, thank you very much, Coty. And you need to keep us posted with that stuff on your Facebook page, Coty's Q. Even though you hate the damn name, we're going to make you come up with a new name, even if I have to come up with it for you. We're going to do that, dude. We're going to make
Jizz Jams. That's the new name, Jizz Jams.
Dude Jams?
Jizz Jams.
Jizz Jams?
Jizz Jams.
Jizz Jams?
I don't know. I feel like this needs to be written out for me because I don't get it right now.
Like
I don't want to get Jizz Jams. Sounds like something a fantasy football player would listen to in their basement.
See, no, I feel like that is definitely something that would get a bunch of clicks just because of the damn name. That's a fantastic idea, Coty.
Bob, I almost put on my 4 logo for that Jock Jams reference.
Yeah, Jizz Jams. Yeah, Jizz Jams.
Jizz Jams fantasy football.
I feel like that would be one of the most provocative tapes or CDs in American history. Like, I don't think, I mean, you just hear a guy grunting and you go, ugh, a girl. I mean, I feel like that would be one of the best.
Yeah.
All right, it was good talking to you, dude.
Yeah, you got it. That's our guy, Coty VanCura. Check him out on Facebook. Coty's Q is soon to be entitled Jizz Jams. And you can also find him at Francois VanCura on Facebook. And Double Feature, they got a new album coming out. They're going to release it. Free beer on Cowback. You mentioned Johnny Bobbo's show. At the
Burlington
show.
Bar.
You got it. Burlington Bar. Do you know where that's located specifically, sir?
Give me 1 second, my dude.
No, you're all right.
I got the address. It's in my little black book that I write really small on.
What are you trying to steal my MO here? Burlington Bar in Chicago. It's
Burlington Coat Factory.
3425. Anyways, Burlington Bar, 3425 West Fullerton in Chicago, Illinois, 6047.
8 o'clock.
60647. Yeah, check that stuff out. Give me the zip code. It doesn't matter.
The weather is going to be 56 degrees as a low, so it's going to be good weather.
Oh, that's going to be delicious weather here in Chicago. Keith, what kind of weather are you getting out there right now in New York? Anything good?
Windy, rainy.
He's getting jizz jams out in New York.
Windy, rainy, and crappy.
See, that's a great thing about Facebook. Facebook will bring jizz jams to every damn station, no matter where you're from. People in India and Lithuania will receive the jizz jams invite, and I will send it to them. Like the page, and it's gonna be awesome because Cody's gonna run with this because he cares about it now, right, Cody?
I love jizz jams. I love talking to my friends.
You got it. That's our guy, Cody VanCura. You have a fantastic evening, Cody.
You too, guy. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah, maybe, if we care about it. We'll see you.
Hey, Bob, I'll send you a private message on Facebook later tonight. Keith,
Yo,
I'll
what?
see you tomorrow.
What did he just say?
I'm gonna send you a message on Facebook tonight about hanging out.
All right, well, I don't have Messenger on Facebook anymore, so I'll have to check it next time I'm on the internet on Facebook.
All right,
But yeah,
I hope to see you. I just want to hang out.
Yeah, sexually explicit jizz jam.
All right, nothing weird, dude. I'm not looking to get weird with you. I'm just looking to drink some Four Locos and hang out.
Yeah, can we hang out when I come to Chicago?
Man, we are gonna get real weird.
Okay.
Anyways, see you, Cody.
Bye, bud.
all I'm trying to say is that yeah, no, definitely. This makes me feel awkward a little bit. That's okay though. I enjoy it. I enjoy that you guys like each other somehow.
You know who I liked tonight was Brett Myers.
He kicked ass. Nobody thought I was sketchy. You know what I mean? Just because you hear things in the past, but man, he really kicked ass. Really cool guy. Like I said, all my interaction with him rocked. So I don't care about anything else. All I know is I know him a little bit.
Yeah, former Philly. I can understand living in Philadelphia why you would hate the media, but yeah, that guy was spot on tonight. He was on his game. His music.
Hey, honestly.
Not like he was honest. And the thing, when they're like, oh, Allen Iverson or Shaq came out with a rap album, or so and so,
John Rocker's hillbilly fucking album.
John Rocker came out with an album with the KKK. It wasn't like that. It was actually a song. Beercation was actually a good song. And I'll be honest, I haven't listened to any other Brett Myers songs, but it was actually a good song. And I'm not really a country guy. I like, an occasional Luke Bryan song. I like an occasional. Yeah, Up Yours. Yeah, he has an occasional good song. And I like an occasional Tim McGraw song. Those are good.
Okay.
But Brett Myers, had a good song, Beercation. That's something I would listen to on YouTube because I can't afford to buy a 99-cent song on iTunes.
Yeah, and that's fine. And that's why we can do things like that, where you can find him, you know what I mean, anywhere you want when it comes down to, on Twitter, you can find him at BackwoodRebel39. That's Brett Myers. Also, check him out on Facebook, Brett Myers Music. And he's going to be releasing a song, one a month, for his new album that's coming out. And, you heard the first one, Beercation there. Kicked ass. Bob actually liked it, and that's saying a lot, don't you think, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, the guy.
You don't like too many of the songs play here that are random. They were like, "Hey, Bob, listen to a song. You should like this," and then Bob goes, "Yeah, no," and then
I usually give a thumbs down to a song, but yeah, he actually gave. He has. When I say he actually had a good song, it sounds like
it sounds like a
backhanded compliment,
but it's not.
But
though.
It was a good song, and I'm saying this okay, when I asked him, did you have singing lessons or music lessons or anything like that? It wasn't to be, before, it wasn't to be demeaning, but,
Right.
it actually sounded like he, at one point in his life, had been,
And?
but he never did. He just goes into the studio, and I respect the hell out. I hate to, actually, I don't even hate it, but I do. I respect the hell out of Brett Myers because I do the same thing where I don't listen to my stuff. I never listen to any of my shows. I never listen to any of our shows because I hate listening to my voice. I think I'm terrible at it, but I respect the hell out of him because he doesn't, he just goes in, somebody says, hey, do another take, and I respect the hell out of him for being able to do that and not listen to his stuff and not be full of himself for, the musical talent he does have, but he doesn't think he has. I do respect the hell out of that.
Well, I listen to you all the time. God damn it, Bob Sullivan. You're amazing. No, I appreciate you coming on. It's absolutely fantastic perspective from Brett Myers at Backwood Rebel 39. Again, check him out on Facebook, Brett Myers Music. And Jim Saranteas for fixing everybody's fantasy problems at The Fantasy Greek on Twitter, thefantasygreek.com. Get your Skybox subscription. He'll be able to help you out on game day. If you have a Skybox subscription, he'll fix your problems. You text him anytime, he'll fix it. Just like that. Coty VanCura, double feature coming out with their album release party on Saturday at Bullington Bar in Chicago. Check it out. Great stuff. And Keith Grieve, 87sportsfans.com. Myself of 87sportsfans.com. Check me out on Twitter at Maloris, Malioris. And Bob Sullivan at Bob Sullivan Show on Twitter. LookGhostBias.com. Hasn't read anything since March, but he's possibly thinking about it. So looking forward to that. And we got to tell you, thank you so much, everybody, for listening, texting in, sending us your hashtag AskTFG questions. Feel free to download us on your Spreaker app, on iTunes, and we love you tons. So be good, and that's all.